I knew my girlfriend was cheating on me 2 minutes before I heard my own neighbor laugh through my bedroom wall. That was the moment my stomach dropped so hard I actually had to grab the kitchen counter to keep myself standing. Until then, I had been doing what every idiot in love does when something feels wrong. I had been explaining it away. I had been telling myself she was stressed, distant, tired, overwhelmed, anything except unfaithful. I had been swallowing that ugly little voice in my head for weeks, maybe months, because the truth felt bigger and meaner than anything I wanted to face. I'm 29. My girlfriend, Lana, is 27. We had been together for almost 4 years, living in a small rented house for the last year and a half. It wasn't some perfect movie relationship, but it was stable. Or at least I thought it was. We had routines. Friday takeout, Sunday grocery runs, lazy nights on the couch, dumb arguments about laundry and dishes, and all those little habits that make you believe you really know a person. I thought we were building towards something permanent. Marriage had come up more than once. Kids had even come up once or twice in those late-night conversations where everything feels honest. And maybe that's why I ignored the warning signs for so long. When someone is already stitched into your future, you don't want to be the one pulling at loose threads. Our neighbor, Derek, moved in about 6 months before everything fell apart. Mid-30s, divorced, the kind of guy who always seemed a little too comfortable everywhere he went. He had that easy smile that made people trust him fast, and he talked like he'd known you for years even when you just met. At first, I liked him. He helped me jumpstart my car one morning before work. He lent me a ladder when I needed to fix a gutter. He brought over beer once when he saw me grilling outside. Normal neighbor stuff. Lana liked him too, which also seemed normal at first. Why wouldn't she? He was friendly, always around, always had some joke ready. Sometimes if I got home late, she'd mention she ran into him while taking the trash out or checking the mail. Nothing weird. Just the kind of harmless small talk people have when they live 10 feet apart. Then little things started changing. Lana, who used to leave her phone face up on the couch, suddenly kept it glued to her hand. She started taking it with her to the bathroom. She changed her passcode after using the same one for years. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she would tilt the screen away on instinct, then pretend she wasn't doing it. When I asked what was up, she laughed it off and said I was acting paranoid. She also got weird about timing. She would disappear to go for a walk at random hours. Sometimes she'd say she needed air and come back 40 minutes later smelling like Derek cigarettes, even though she told me she hated smoking. She started dressing nicer for errands that made no sense. Full makeup to grab toothpaste. Perfume to return a package. At one point she changed clothes at 8 at night because she said she wanted to feel cute while doing laundry. I remember staring at her and feeling that first sharp pinch of suspicion, but I still pushed it down. Because I loved her. Because accusing someone you love of cheating feels like lighting a match in your own house. The first real crack came on a Tuesday night. I got off work early. I didn't tell Lana because I figured I'd surprise her with dinner. She had texted me an hour earlier saying she was exhausted and planning to stay in all evening. I picked up Thai food from her favorite place and drove home actually feeling pretty good. I remember thinking maybe things had just felt off because we'd both been busy. Maybe we needed one calm night together. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. But the house looked dark. I carried the food inside and called her name. No answer. I checked the bedroom, bathroom, backyard, nothing. Her purse was on the chair. Her shoes were by the door. Her car keys were on the kitchen hook. But she was gone. Then I heard voices outside, low and close. I looked through the side window and saw Lana standing on Derek's porch. He was leaning against the railing, way too relaxed, and she was laughing at something he said. Not polite laughing. Not neighbor laughing. It was that softer kind, the kind you do when you're fully tuned into one person and trying not to look too interested. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, holding a paper bag full of food getting cold in my hands. Then she touched his arm. It wasn't dramatic. That's the part that got me. There was no kiss, no obvious line crossed right in front of me. Just a small touch, light and casual, but intimate enough that my chest tightened immediately. Because that kind of contact doesn't happen in a vacuum. It comes from somewhere. It grows out of something. I stepped away from the window before they could see me and just stood in the kitchen trying to decide if I was overreacting. A minute later she came in through the front door and actually jumped when she saw me. "Oh my God, you scared me," she said, hand on her chest. I asked her where she'd been. She said she was taking the trash out. I looked at the counter where the untouched trash bag was still sitting exactly where she'd left it. Then she glanced at it too, and for 1 second, just one, her whole face flickered with panic. After that she recovered fast. Said she'd meant she was about to take it out. Said Derek had waved and started talking, and she lost track of time. Then she smiled at the takeout bag in my hand and tried to act normal, like my question had been rude and her answer settled it. I wanted to believe her so badly that I let it go. But from that point on, I started noticing everything. She smiled at texts and then hid the screen when I looked over. She volunteered to check the mail 3 times a day. Derek started mowing his lawn shirtless every weekend like he was auditioning for something, and somehow Lana always found a reason to be outside around then. Once, late at night, I woke up and found her missing from bed. I got up in a panic, only to find her sitting in the living room in the dark with her phone brightness turned all the way down. She said she couldn't sleep. When I sat next to her, she locked the screen immediately. I asked her straight up if something was going on. She looked offended. Not hurt. Not sad. Offended. She asked me if I really thought so little of her. She asked whether I was becoming controlling. She even teared up a little, and that's the part one hate admitting worked on me. I apologized for asking. I told her I'd just been stressed. She let me hold her while she acted wounded, and all the while I could feel something rotten growing underneath us. Then came the night that changed everything. I was supposed to be working late. I had told Lana that morning I probably wouldn't be home until after 10 because we had inventory at the warehouse. That part was true when I left the house. But around 6, my manager called it off because a delivery got delayed. Everyone got sent home. I almost texted Lana to tell her I was coming back early. Something stopped me. I don't know if it was instinct or fear or the part of me that already knew. But I put my phone down, got in my truck, and drove home without saying a word. The street was quiet when I pulled up. Too quiet. Derek's truck was in his driveway. Lana's car was in ours. The lights in our house were off except for the small lamp in the bedroom window. I sat there with the engine off, staring. Then I saw movement through the curtain. 2 shadows. One was definitely Lana. I knew the shape of her body, the way she tied her hair up, the way she tilted her head when she laughed. The other shadow was taller, broader, and standing far too close to her to be explained away by anything innocent. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stared like if I kept watching long enough, the scene would magically rearrange itself into something harmless. Then the light went out. I got out of the truck and walked toward the house so slowly it felt unreal. My pulse was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I reached the front porch, put my hand on the doorknob, and that's when I heard it. A man laughing. Not from next door. From inside my house. From inside my bedroom. And I knew exactly whose laugh it was. For a second, I just stood there with my hand on the doorknob, completely frozen. My brain was trying to reject what my ears had already confirmed. It felt unreal, like I had stepped into someone else's life by mistake. But the sound came again, lower this time, followed by Lana's voice. Soft. Familiar. Intimate in a way I hadn't heard in months. That snapped something in me. I opened the door. The house was dim, just that one lamp in the bedroom casting a weak yellow glow down the hallway. Every step I took felt heavier than the last, like I was walking straight into something that would permanently change me. I remember noticing stupid details, my shoes by the door, her jacket on the chair, the takeout container still in the trash from the other night. Normal things. Ordinary things. And then there was that sound again. A quiet laugh. A whisper. The creak of the bed. I didn't knock. I didn't announce myself. I just pushed the bedroom door open. They didn't even notice me at first. That's the part that burned the most. Lana was sitting on the edge of the bed, her hair messy, her face flushed. Derek was standing between her knees, leaning in, his hand on her waist like he had every right to be there. Like this was normal. Like this was their space. For a second, I couldn't even speak. I just stared. Then Lana looked up. And the way her face changed. I'll never forget it. It went from relaxed to completely drained of color in an instant. Her eyes widened so fast it almost looked painful. "Wait," she said. Derek turned next, slower, like he didn't even feel guilty. He just looked annoyed. Like I had interrupted something inconvenient. "What the hell is this?" I finally said, but my voice came out quieter than I expected. Not shouting. Not rage. Just, hollow. Lana stood up so quickly she almost tripped. She grabbed the nearest shirt and pulled it around herself, hands shaking. "It's not what it looks like," she said. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp and broken. "Then what does it look like, Lana?" I asked. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty damn clear." Derek stepped back, running a hand through his hair like he was dealing with a minor inconvenience instead of standing in another man's bedroom with his girlfriend. "Man, you need to calm down," he said. That sentence hit me harder than anything else. Calm down. In my own house. I took a step toward him without even thinking. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the kind of anger that makes your vision narrow. "You need to get out," I said, pointing at the door. He didn't move. Lana stepped between us, her voice rising. "Stop it, both of you, please." I looked at her, really looked at her, and something inside me cracked wider. There was fear on her face, yes. But there was also something else. Not regret. Not heartbreak. Panic at being caught. That was it. Not what she did. Just that I saw it. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer. "How long, Lana?" Her eyes dropped to the floor. That silence told me everything. Derek finally grabbed his shirt and started putting it on like he decided the show was over. He walked past me like I wasn't even there, like I was just another obstacle in his way. At the doorway, he paused for half a second. "You should have knocked," he said. Then he left. The front door closed behind him, and the house went quiet again. It was just me and her. The distance between us felt massive, even though we were standing a few feet apart. I could hear her breathing, uneven and shaky. I could feel my own heart pounding in my throat. "I was going to tell you," she said. I shook my head slowly. "No, you weren't." Tears started forming in her eyes, but now they felt fake. Too late. Like a performance that had missed its cue. "It just happened," she added. That was the moment something inside me finally shut off completely. Nothing just happens like this. Not the texts. Not the walks. Not the lies. Not the way she looked at him. Not the way she touched him. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. This was a choice. And she had been choosing him over me for longer than I even wanted to imagine. I stepped back, creating space between us. "Don't," I said when she tried to come closer. "Just, don't." She stopped, like she finally realized there was no fixing this with words. And for the first time since I walked in, I felt something colder than anger. Clarity. I stood there for a few seconds longer, just looking at her, and it was like I was seeing a completely different person. Same face. Same voice. But none of it felt familiar anymore. Whatever I thought we had, it was gone. "I'm done," I said. The words came out calm. Too calm. And I think that scared her more than if I had screamed. "What do you mean done?" she asked, stepping toward me again. "I mean we're done, Lana. You, me, all of this." Her face crumbled a little. "Please don't do this right now. We can talk about it. We can fix this." I shook my head. "There's nothing to fix." She started crying then. Real tears this time, or at least they looked real. Her shoulders shaking, her voice breaking, the whole thing. A week ago, maybe even a day ago, that would have destroyed me. I would have folded instantly just to stop her from crying. But now, it didn't hit the same. Because all I could see was her sitting on that bed with him. "You don't understand," she said through tears. "I was confused, I felt distant from you, and he was just there." "Stop," I cut her off. I didn't raise my voice, but the way I said it made her freeze. "Don't try to turn this into something it's not. You didn't trip and fall into him. You made a choice. Over and over again." She looked down again, and that silence came back. I walked past her and grabbed a duffel bag from the closet. I didn't even think about what I was taking. Just clothes, charger, wallet. Basic things. My hands moved on their own. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice smaller now. "Anywhere but here." That hit her. She stepped closer again, more desperate this time. "Please, don't leave like this." I zipped the bag and looked at her one last time. "You should have thought about that before." And that was it. I walked out of the bedroom, through the hallway, past all the little pieces of a life that suddenly meant nothing. I didn't look back when I opened the front door. I didn't stop when I heard her call my name. I just left. Sitting in my truck a minute later, I finally let myself breathe. My hands were still shaking, but my head felt quiet. Not okay. But clear. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what I had to do next. I didn't go back that night. I drove around for almost an hour before ending up in a cheap motel on the other side of town. The kind of place I would have never even looked at before. But at that moment, I didn't care. I just needed a place where everything was quiet and nobody knew me. That first night was the hardest. Not because I missed her. But because everything replayed in my head on a loop. Every smile, every excuse, every moment I ignored my gut. It was like my brain was trying to stitch together the timeline I never wanted to see. And the worst part wasn't even what she did. It was how long I let it happen. The next morning, I woke up feeling empty but focused. That clarity from the night before hadn't gone away. If anything, it got stronger. I knew I couldn't drag this out. I knew exactly what needed to be done. I went back to the house while she was at work. Walking in felt strange. Like stepping into a place that used to belong to me. I didn't look around too much. I didn't open old photos, didn't sit on the couch, didn't let myself get pulled into memories. I went straight to the bedroom, packed everything that was mine, and ignored anything that could slow me down. Her side of the closet stayed untouched. When I was almost done, I noticed something on the nightstand. Her phone charger plugged into the wall, and next to it, a second one. Not mine. Probably his. That small detail hit harder than I expected. Not because it hurt. But because it confirmed everything. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This had been happening right under my nose. I took my bags, walked out, and locked the door behind me. I left the key on the kitchen counter, exactly where she'd see it. Later that day, I sent one message. "Don't contact me again." She called. A lot. Texts, voicemails, long paragraphs. Apologies, explanations, promises. I didn't read most of it. The few I did were all the same. Regret now that it was over. Not when it mattered. I blocked her. A week later, I found a small apartment. Nothing special, but it was mine. Quiet. Clean. No memories attached. I started rebuilding from scratch. New routines. New habits. Even new people. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. And that mattered more than anything. As for Derek, I saw him once from a distance a few weeks later. He looked right through me like I didn't exist. And honestly, that was fine. Because neither of them mattered anymore. What I learned from all of this is simple. When something feels off, it usually is. Don't ignore it just because the truth is uncomfortable. I wasted months trying to protect a relationship that was already broken behind my back. Never again. Now, I trust my gut. And more importantly, I trust myself enough to walk away the moment I see the signs. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I post new Reddit stories about cheating, relationships, and crazy life situations every day. And if you have a story like this, feel free to share it in the comments.